college isn't for everybody. And
No, it's for and statistically, it's not for. I don't think it's for most people. And I'll go out on a limb for that with and say that because I've been around it for a long time. I just don't think it's for most people. I think we all get pigeonholed, and that bill of goods was sold to my generation. If you don't go to college, you're not going to make any money, and that's just bullshit. We know now today that's bullshit.
Licensed attorney, award-winning writer, businessman, entrepreneur, and other over-the-top crap. It's Life and Law with Eugene Cisco Jr.
Hey guys, welcome back. You have reached another episode of Real Life and Law. My name is Eugene, guys. I'm an attorney, entrepreneur. I've done a lot of crap in my life. Mostly, as I tell people now, I specialize in getting people's asses out of cracks. So I've spent a whole life doing it, got my own ass out of many cracks. And so today, guys, we have a special treat. I know I say it all the time, but I really admire this dude. Saw him on TikTok, watched a ton of his videos, and very intrigued about the kind of stuff he does. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit. Joe Bell, he is, if you look at his TikTok, he is a teacher, a preparedness, I want to say expert, and a homeschooler. So he currently does a lot of that stuff, dabbles in the preparedness field, which I always on the fringes. I find it interesting. I watch all of those shows on Mountain Man and this dude named Nate. He's got a big long beard. Nate from West Virginia, but he's kind of a off grid or not quite the same as a preparedness guy. But anyway, so I digress. We're gonna talk to Joe and try to get some information from him, and guys going to have a conversation about what he does. So Joe, give him your bio. Give us your 2-minute bio, and
wow.
I'll try to shut my mouth.
Well, thanks for having me on and inviting me. So I'm a homeschooling dad. I've been homeschooling for 12 years. And with that, I also have a background in public education. I went to college to become a teacher. I've taught in public schools, private schools, homeschool co-ops. Um, you name it. I've taught in there. I've taught anything from kindergarten to high school. So all the different subjects. And I'm also interested in, just that emergency preparedness because you never know when life's little emergency is going to happen and you need to be prepared. So I kind of do a little bit of everything, I guess.
Are you? So I'm gonna ask just a little bit, and you can answer if you can't. Are you? Do you have a partner? Are you married? Are you doing this by yourself?
So I am married. I've been married for about 21 years.
Oh, let me give you a golf clap on that. Good job.
Thank you.
Give you a
Thank
golf
you.
clap for the marriage. Good job.
Thank you so much. And we have 4 kids. I have a senior in high school, a freshman in high school, a seventh grader, and then a preschooler.
Oh
So,
man, you got them
yeah,
spaced out. Gee
I
whiz.
sure do.
So what's the gap in age between the third one and the last one?
Uh, 9 years.
Okay. I had one of those 7 years. Kind of the emergency stork or the surprise stork. I said, "What? How the hell did that happen?" Uh,
Yeah.
so 9 years, 9 years is a long time, my brother. So I guess the shock of the diapers and the bottles and all that. How was that?
That was a shock for sure. It took some time to, I guess, digest that news and realize we're starting all over. But it's been absolutely great. We love it, and we love him being here. I have 3 older girls and then a son. So it's
God bless you.
a lot has changed since my older girls were little, but there's still a lot of things that are similar.
And so a little bit about parenting here, and we'll get to the teaching thing because it's all about the same, right? You raising your kids, you're teaching them to be responsible people, and I think the goal of a parent should be the same as a teacher because I'm a certified teacher, guidance counselor. I've been in it for many years. The goal is to raise a productive individual so that your ass ain't taken care of them when they become an adult. If you want to be
That's
blunt about it, you want them to
yeah,
you want to raise your kids and teach them the life skills they need so that they don't depend on you as much, right?
that's it. That's it, 100%. And like I said, I got a senior we're almost there.
Yeah, oh,
So
yeah, off the payroll, man. Get them off the payroll. So what I found my littlest one. So I had my oldest was a son, and then I had three girls, and my baby was I think 7 years between my third and my baby. And I don't want to say I love her more, but I certainly was at a different stage of my life, so I was able to enjoy her more. I had three of them really close together within 4 years of each other. And like, you're just in the middle of the God blessed storm. You're just changing shitty diapers and you're hustling. And so the last one, I was at a different phase of my life, had more money, was a little more stable in my career, and I enjoyed her more, I think. What's that similar to you or no?
You know, for me actually, it's a little bit different because my wife runs her own business, and I stopped teaching for a few years and was just substituting and things like that just to keep up on things. And so I became a stay-at-home dad essentially. So I was around, you know, while they were growing. So I was always there. And then I went back to work right after COVID. And so I haven't been as available to him as I have been to them.
Oh, so you're the reverse of what I
Yeah,
ah.
yeah.
I'll be
Uh,
daggone. Well, let me tell you, props again, man. You're you're getting it with these kids, and you stayed at home dad, and you still managed to. I'm sure you're supporting your wife and her business and all of that. And you're when I look at your page, I looked at your back end of your page and your link tree and all that, and you're got some merchandise up there. So, guys, I kind of encourage you. Let's do a little tag and just a little bit of tell people how they can find you on TikTok or YouTube or any of your other media channels.
I'm most active on TikTok at Home Dad. I'm also on Instagram at Home Dad. And then really those are the platforms I'm most active on. I do have a YouTube link that um, we do a lot of, my daughter's a beekeeper, so we do a lot of beekeeping things on there. And she wants to start becoming a homesteader. She's saving money to buy her own land. She's 13 and she already knows what she wants to do. And so uh, I kind of help guide her in the YouTube area while she uploads videos and learning to edit and all that stuff with her. So that's also linked on there, and it's a lot of fun. Social media is a lot of fun. It was a place where I could meet other stay-at-home dads and other homeschoolers because it's you know being a male homeschooler, it was a little bit difficult to
Yeah.
meet people.
Yeah, it is. So let me get into a little bit of more of your traditional certifications, your qualifications. Now, most, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any state in the United States that require actual formal education for homeschooling. Are you aware of any state that requires
Yeah,
that?
not that I know of. You can, different states do have different regulations and things you have to do as a homeschool parent, but as far as a formal education, I don't think there's any.
Which is a little scary, right? I mean, so for me, have a formal education, bachelor's degree, master's degree, certification in middle school and high school. It makes me nervous when I see people homeschool. So when I saw your feed come up and said homeschooler, so then I started looking around at your qualification. You're qualified to teach, so you could teach your own kids. You've got everything, and in fact, particularly to me. So are you heavier? What I notice your content is mostly in the sciences. Is that fair to say that you concentrate on the sciences, or?
Yeah, so that's so I currently teach high school science right now, and so I do cross that over because I have two high schoolers to do that with. That's where I'm comfortable, and then we use other resources. Like I'm not super strong in math, so I outsource that to somebody who is super strong in math,
There you go.
and that's one of the things as a homeschooler, people are always so nervous, like, oh, I can't teach them when they get to this point, but you don't have to. You can outsource, and there's always somebody out there that can do that.
So that is so you mentioned co-ops before that you were a member of a co-op. So to me, and I'm a little bit familiar with co-ops, isn't that the strength of a co-ops because someone in that group can probably gap fill a deficiency that you might have as a parent?
Yeah, definitely. That's it. They're volunteer parents who have a very knowledgeable about some subject. They may not have a degree in that, but they know that subject better than people that may have a degree, and they can fill that in. And my kids currently go to actually two different co-ops because one is heavy in language arts and um, writing and things like that, and then the other one is very heavy in history, and they do some physical education, but they also do like word working classes and things like that for them. So we currently go to two different ones so they can get a very good range.
So your co-op, if I can use maybe some type of an analogy, is kind of like these magnet schools that you have in the public schools.
Hmm.
So one might concentrate on science, one might concentrate on the arts, and then math. So your co-op, you found co-ops that are stronger in certain subjects, and that's when you feel you're deficient in those areas. So that's where you place your kids.
Yeah, and yeah, that's it. And they also have some fun classes too, for the kids. Like they offer theater. You know, I they're going to be there all day anyway. Take a theater class, and they love it, and they learn public speaking in that. And there's different electives like woodworking. A lot of high schools don't offer woodworking classes anymore, but this one does, and so that and it also gives them that opportunity to create the friends and create those relationships on their own without the parent kind of setting things up. A lot of times when kids are younger, we set up play groups or play dates
Uh-huh.
and almost force them to be friends,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in reality, they may not be friends in real,
Yeah.
out in public. And so this gives my kids the opportunity to go. They're away from mom and dad. They're out there. They have to be independent. They have to learn, how to meet people, how to talk to people, and you know, we try and teach them all that when we're raising them, and now it's their time to go to school and try that out, and it works great for us, and
S-
it's
So you have homeschooled all of your kids completely? Or have they did that? Well, I guess I maybe asked the question a little better. Did they attend public school?
so my oldest did attend public school. She went to kindergarten and first grade in a public school, and there were it was where we lived. It was a brand new public school. We were actually down in Florida at the time. Brand new public school, just open. It was the first year, and it was just going to have these great reviews. They had some amazing teachers coming in. So I thought we just moved. We're trying to figure out homeschooling. She's going to be in kindergarten. Let's send her to kindergarten and then figure it out. Why and kindergarten, it's okay. So we sent her to kindergarten. Had an amazing teacher, just absolutely fantastic. Loved it. And then she wanted to go to first grade, and that worked out because we had another baby at that time. So we're home taking care of the baby. First grade, no problem, and did not like first grade at all. It was a bad experience for her. And we always knew we wanted to homeschool, so we thought, let's just pull her out and go for it. And we did.
So you tested it out on the first one, and then
Yeah.
you figured it out, and then smooth sailing for the other
Well,
ones.
that's why you have multiple kids, right?
That's
Everything
what
gets
I
tested
say.
the first one.
I tell my kids all the time, that shit, we figured it out already by the time the baby was born, and Anna's the baby, and I said, we already screwed y'all up. We did Anna right.
Yep, that's why you have multiple. You figure it out as you go. Just
Yeah.
that's what parenting is.
Well, what I thought you were going to say, and where I thought you were going with this, because I see this a lot. Where I'm from, they put a new school in. Everybody thinks it's the cat's ass, and it's just really putting. It's the same guts. The school is the same guts. You got the same bad administration, and some of the half of the teacher. Because I'm a former school teacher. Some of the most of the teachers, I'm gonna say not most, but a good majority, enough to get in the way, are undermotivated. They don't like their job, and so it's kind of like putting perfume on a turd, you know. And that's where I thought you were going with that, was when you said it's a brand new school, and then you realized, oh man, this isn't it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too also depends, like you said, on that teacher. She had her kindergarten teacher was a young teacher right out of college, super excited to be there, very bubbly, just loved it. But her first grade teacher was just a few years from retirement, so big difference.
And the system had beat her down, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And honestly, let's so give us an idea of what your homeschool day, because I'm going to give people the full flavor. We homeschooled our oldest. Now I'm going to say my wife did it. So what we talked about earlier was the regulation that a lot of states have, and I've looked at a lot of them, and I'm kind of participating in the regulatory restrictions that most states have is on curricula. Some places mandate that you teach a curricula. They don't tell you what to teach, but they want you to buy into some type of curricula. Some don't give a shit at all what you
Right.
teach, which sucks. And we saw that during COVID, maybe, is that it almost, to me, as a teacher, as a professional, they really believe anybody can do this shit, the government, or maybe that was the government's way of trying to convince us, oh yeah, we'll send a packet home and granny and grandpa can do it and they can get logged onto the computer. It's not that easy. If it was, we wouldn't have public school. We wouldn't have any school. So I digress a little bit, except that, so we did our oldest. My wife did it. We bought into a curricula. So do you have a curricula? So give us an idea. So 2 questions. Do you have a curricula? And if you do, if you don't mind, if you want to give it a plug, you can do that. But what's your day like? What is your day like as a homeschool parent?
Mm. Oh man, that's a good one. So we do have curricula. We found some that work best for our kids, because we found that every kid learns a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Some can learn by reading, some can learn by more hands-on. So we had to find how our kids learn, and then we were able to help find curricula that would help them be successful with whatever we were teaching.
So when you try to assess and analyze your kids, did because you can do some testing, did you take your child to a professional and have them analyze their skill set and their aptitudes, or did you do that yourself with some things? Because you can purchase a lot of good stuff online to kind of get it to evaluate and assess your child and see where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are, and what their aptitudes are. Did you do that first?
So we just kind of observed them. Like my oldest, her she just loved always, ever since she was little, to sit and read books. Even when she couldn't read them, she was looking at the pictures. That was her favorite thing to do. And so we would observe that and say, well, she likes to read. Let's try a reading-based curriculum. And she can read it and remember it and recall it, and it works really well for her. My middle daughter, that did not work for her. We took her, we had trouble finding what worked best for her. So we actually took her, and she got evaluated in things. She has some learning disabilities, and, that helped us realize, okay, this isn't great for her. We need more of a hands-on curriculum, one where she can touch and feel and build. And, as we should have thought back, and she's always building. She's always taking some apart, putting it back together, usually wrong, but she's putting it back together.
Well, but she's giving it the old college try.
She sure is. She sure is. She would, take cardboard and cut it and build these huge, like massive machines, and they would work. And we should have thought back, when she's more hands-on. So we found curriculum for that. And so each one learns a little bit different, and then all the rest we just kind of assessed at home with what we knew. And you have to kind of find the curriculum that works because in a public school, it's kind of a one size fits all curriculum.
So that was going to be my next kind of question is, so you have different, which is something I would have never thought of, to have a different curricula for every kid. So if I'm thinking back, if we would have done our second, third, and maybe even our fourth child, we would have probably tried to buy into the same curricula just because it seemed easier, which is counterintuitive to what you suggest, which is get in touch with your child's needs, assess them, and then try to get a separate curricula. So is that not hard to navigate when you got three in at the same time? And
oh man, that's tough.
Lord
it
have
is.
mercy.
So when we find the co-ops, and we found what they were, they did really well in the co-ops. They go there, they learn it, but then when they bring it home, we can adjust it to how they learn. It's like my oldest, she reads, we can have her, read and write things, or my middle one, she has to build it. So we would write letters and words on tiles, and she would slide them around to do things. So we've learned over time to be able to adapt like the curriculums that we chose at the time, and some of the ones that we use now. When they were younger, it was hard because we had three different ones on three different things, and it was very, very time consuming.
I couldn't do it. That would be tough. So are you the boss? So I'm going to say this way, as a kid would say it. Are you the boss of that in your household? Does your wife give you full autonomy to make those types of decisions?
So we really talk about everything. We discuss everything. We talk about it. One, it costs a lot, so we want to make sure that
that's what I was getting to. The cost on those things are expensive. I mean, it costs a lot if you do it right.
Yeah, they do cost a lot, and so we evaluate. This is where we're at. This one would be really good. What do you think? If I find a curriculum that might work, if she finds one, we really work together a lot to be on the same page. So that way, our kids can be most successful in what they're doing. Because if we're on different pages, she tells them one thing, I tell them something else. It could be confusing for them. So we work really hard to really work together on that to make sure I know what subject they're working on. She knows what subject they're working on.
Is your wife an educated? Does she have a formal education as well?
Yeah, she does.
Okay.
She does.
So you can't say my education trumps yours, so I'm gonna take this and do it this way. If y'all kind of don't agree, then you're not throwing a trump card on her.
No. Yeah, she's a nurse. She went to college for that. She runs her own business as well, so she knows a whole lot of stuff, and so we want to make sure, like I said, we work together really well on that. And the one thing, when they were younger, it was hard, very, very time consuming. We had a time block. You get this amount of time, and if we don't finish, we're going to have to come back to that because I've got to move on and help your sister. And now that they're older, they're a lot more independent, which we've been building up to. So like I can make out our schedule. I usually do it weekly. On the weekend, I make up a little schedule and they have it and they just check it off as they do it. And I can check it when I get home from work, or my wife checks it, if she's not busy with meetings and things.
So do you, so the course of your day, I know when we did ours, and I'm big into routine and schedule because I think kids learn better that way. That's just me. We tried to maintain that school feeling because we knew eventually we were only going to do it for the elementary school. Kind of knew eventually he was going to migrate back into the public school. So we wanted to try to get them that muscle memory of sitting at a desk or sitting at the table and doing that. And so the schedule was at 8, usually we were done by 11:30 or 12, and then we would do the co-op thing in the evening usually. So is that the way you did yours, or was your day really planned in the morning or in the evening, or how'd you do that?
So usually, like they'd get up, they eat their breakfast, they do their chores right away, and then we'd sit at the kitchen table, and each of the kids would be working on something that was a little more independent while I would work with the one that needed a little bit of help. And we just kind of rotated.
Okay.
And so we would rotate and they were all right there. As they got older and more independent, like my oldest likes to work at the desk in her room. Um, my little one puts on her headphones, listens to her music. Sometimes she works in the back on the patio. Sometimes, she works on the couch, wherever she's comfortable. And then my youngest, she's, usually at her desk or downstairs at the table.
So yours is a kind of a performance measured base, right? That you give them as they get older, this is the material they know they have to do, and you monitor it. And if they don't do it, then you provide assistance or a kick in the ass, whichever one, and get them motivated, right?
Yeah, that's what we do now. Like I said, now that they're older, we always check their work. So either me or my wife, and there's a spot, for us to like initial or start or something. So that way I know she checked it if I look at it, or if she goes to look at it, I know she checked it. And um, yeah, my kids know because we've also set those routines from when they were in elementary school. This is what we need to get done each day. This is what's expected of you.
And isn't like that's important when you're talking about kids, is setting those expectations and training. If they don't know anything different, then that's what they know, and they don't know anything else. So that's what. And I had a friend who, and you have these light bulb moments when you're talking to people. I had this friend of mine, and I was probably maybe in my mid to late 20s, and I asked her about college, and I said, "How'd you go to college?" She said, "My mother and father never it was never an option. Even from the time I was little, it was you're going to go to school and school doesn't end until you go to college." And she said they said that, must have said that a million times. So that was the expectation, right? So you set that expectation for your kids. These are the things we expect, and they know it. And so there was really no question in it, I don't guess, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, this is what we expect. And sometimes they're kids that they don't do it, but then there's a consequence. And I always tell them, you can choose your actions, but you can't choose your consequence. So
Okay.
you choose not to get it done. You don't get to choose the consequence that comes along with that. Mom and dad do. And, sometimes they have to learn the hard way, just like kids do. But, yeah, we set that expectation early when they were younger, and it just keeps
And
going throughout.
consistency, right?
Oh yeah,
Consistency, man,
you
is the
have to be
big key.
consistent. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't. We take about a week off around the holidays, and then 2 weeks in the summer, and that's it. We go visit family. Take a little family vacation. Take 2 weeks off. Hey, enjoy your summer. It's 2 weeks. When we get back home, we're getting right
Two
back to
weeks, and
it.
then they go and they listen to the kids in public school. Dad, you're crapping on us, man. We should get 4 weeks or 6 weeks.
Yeah, they go, how come you're home? Well, I paid my dues. The
And there
kids
you
are
there
telling.
you go. You say, I don't care what your friends do. This is what we do.
Right. Yeah. And because of that, like my oldest, she takes college courses over the summer. Instead of doing, she does some dual enrollment,
Oh,
and so she takes college courses over the summer. So that way, when she graduates, she goes in, she already has some done. And
she'll
so,
have maybe 12 or 15
yeah,
hours, have a semester under her
yeah,
belt. Well,
right.
good for
And
her.
it's just, you create those habits young, and those habits will carry
And it's
throughout.
wonderful when you see them get into that self-starter mode, and that they understand what the game is about and all of that. So having said that, what the game is about. So I have a couple of issues. We'll talk about them. And one is and I said it earlier, going to college, going to college, going to college. I'm one of those who I'm in. May I ask how old you are? I'll go ahead and ask. You don't have to answer if you don't want. How old are you?
I'm 41.
Okay, see, I'm 63. So in my generation, when I was in 10th grade, ninth grade, college was for those kids who were smart, who had that aptitude for academics. If you did not have that, then it was vocational school was a sub level, right? It wasn't even on par. They taught vocational school, but it was you're not smart enough to go to college. So you go to Votech. And so I watched that over the years. And so now they don't do hardly any vocational school in the high school setting, as maybe you mentioned earlier. They don't get it. And so now you're left with these kids, and the focus for the last 30 years has been college. And college isn't for everybody, right? I mean, what's your position on that particular issue?
I agree. College isn't for everybody. And I make my kids are aware of that. Like my oldest, she knows what she wants to go into. She's already planning to go to college. Um, my middle daughter, she wants to go to trade school. She's like, I want to take as little school as possible. I want to be done in 1 year, but make a good amount of money. And she already knows what she wants to do. She's already researching it. She's saving money for it. Like college isn't for everybody. And
No, it's for, and statistically, it's not for, I don't think it's for most people. And I'll go out on a limb for that and say that because I've been around it for a long time. I just don't think it's for most people. I think we all get pigeonholed. And, that bill of goods was sold to my generation. If you don't go to college, you're not going to make any money. And that's just bullshit. We know now today that's bullshit. The trades, working with your hands, learning a skill, in fact, is a quicker way to get to a certain amount of income. Now you top out early, right? If you're in the trade, you're going to top out early. But so what? You're coming out of the chute with a 2-year degree, probably making 80 grand a year,
yeah,
and you're
right.
not doing that as a teacher.
No,
We both know
no,
that, right?
right, right.
So you're, so what is your take on the state of public
Mm.
education today? And I'm not trying to ask you to, I don't want you to get fired. So
No,
that's not what I'm trying to do. And I don't want you to drop a dime on the school you're going to. That's why I didn't ask you where you're going. But I mean, people will see your face. But what is the state in your opinion, of public education today?
oh man, I think there needs to be an overhaul in it.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it needs to change. Like we just talked about college, they don't offer trades anymore. So I teach high school seniors, and a lot of the ones that I teach, I'd say half of them aren't going to college. They, but they didn't. Many of them want to go into the trades, right? Like, but they don't know how, or they want to go and try it first and take, you know, an introduction course to see if that's the trade they want to go into. They should be doing that in high school. So then when
Yeah.
they're, that's an elective credit, they need to have those. I think they need to have those in high school to be able to give them better direction when they graduate.
But what I've seen and what I noticed, and this is similar to what you're saying, is the problem is that for sure. And I think the pendulum is starting to move back to where we're giving these kids an option. The guidance counselors, which is where that should originate, should be inviting um, individuals to come in and do tests like the ASVAB or some of those to where the kids can actually at least understand what they're good at, because most kids don't even understand what their skill set is. They don't know what their aptitudes are. So it all starts from there. And these guidance counselors are too busy doing other shit other than guidance counseling, in my opinion.
Right, right. I have a student who wants to go to college, and he came to me and said, "How do I fill out the form to go to
Oh,
college?" I
yeah.
said, "Go check with the guidance counselor, and then if not, let me know." And so we made an appointment, and the guidance counselor just emailed him back and said, "Just tell me what you want over email." wouldn't even
Uh,
meet with the student. And
uh,
um, so he came to me and was like, can you help me fill out this form? So we sat down and we filled out what we could, because he has to get some information from his parents. And he made notes of that. He came back the next day and submitted it. He was so excited. I'm going to be the first one to go to college if I get accepted. I mean, it's a
oh,
trade school, which is great. That's what he wants to go into. But he was so excited, and I'm so happy I got to help him with that. But that's also the guidance counselor.
that's that's. Yeah, I'm gonna give you another one. Wonderful. I was one of those kids, especially the poor. The poor get that treatment all the time. And the data shows that poor kid about 1.5% likely to get a degree. If they're in the lower quadrant of income level, about 1.5% of them will actually graduate in 5 years with a 4-year degree. I think actually 6 years. So it's just because their mom and dad doesn't know shit from apple butter about education. The guidance counselors are busy taking care of other administrative duties. And if they're not, they're busy catering to those kids who they know they can shine a light on, and brag on these kids. I got so many into Harvard, so many into Yale, so many into blah, 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 blah. And the kids like you helped, the kid that you helped, that will make such an impact. The first generation kid is the breakthrough of
Hmm.
that whole family tree. This kid has done something no one else in his family has done, and then that just keeps giving down the tree. So we're missing that. So we're missing that in the schools. So understanding and being able to identify those kids that don't want to go to college and finding an outlet for them right early on, would you say is probably a big deal?
Yeah, that's key. I think to help these kids with their future, um, you have to identify, like you said, identify something they can do. And I remember it was like the first week of school, and I had them write on a piece of paper, their names or the contact information and what you want to do after high school. And going through it, a lot of them were blank because they just didn't know.
Yeah.
And about, I would say, maybe 25% of them were, I want to be an influencer. I want to be on YouTube. I want to be an
Uh,
independent business owner. And trying to get them to understand that takes the amount of work that actually goes into that. You don't see that back end. You see
no.
the 7 million views and the money coming in, but you don't see the 10 years of struggle. You don't see like I said, that back end. And, they scroll TikTok and they see all these people, overnight sensations. That's an exception. Do that on the side. Go
Which
for it. But
which is neat because and I still speak in schools and I go to conventions and
mhm,
speak, and when I'm talking to kids, I used to get in a classroom all the time. What do you want to be when you grow up? 75% of the room would say a doctor or a lawyer, and some would say a professional athlete. But now it's that thing that they got their face in, the influencers and all of that, you know. Yeah, so I never thought about that. So that's something that they see that looks like it's easy and it looks like it's attainable, but no one's telling them. It's like being a affiliate marketer. It's like it's sold to these people, and that's like hard to do to make money at it. It's like, and no one knows that. It's like they see all these people humping these products, and it's easy. So, what else would you see if you give me two things? I'm gonna just lay it out like this. Give me two things. We've already covered one as far as maybe accessibility and identifying those kids that probably would do well with vocational education. What would be two more things if you were the education czar? What would you say to what would you implement in order to try to make the system better?
oh man, I would let teachers teach and pull off all the hoops they have to jump through. You know, there's so many. Like I understand it's good to have benchmarks, but I when I was over in elementary school a few years back before in high school, the first month was all retest like testing. Like let them teach. You know, I know a lot of people that love their job. They truly love working with kids and teaching, but it's almost like they give you a script and they say, this is what you have to teach. This is how you have to do it. This is what you
Yeah.
need to use.
Well, that's exactly
Just
what they do.
it's let them teach, let them use their creativity. They know their class better than anybody, right? So let them tailor it to their class. They'll still hit all the marks, but let them do it how they see would most benefit their class.
Well, and so then that's a wonderful suggestion is let the teachers uh, uncouple them from from a lot of the regulations and then a lot of the red tape and let them do what you hired them to do,
Right.
right? So what would be something else that you could throw out?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
It it is. I would honestly, I'd like to see teachers get paid more.
Okay.
I think most people don't go into the profession because it's ridiculously hard to support a family on a teacher paycheck. When you look at teachers, the majority of them are women, and a majority of them are second incomes because their spouse has a good job. Where there's not a lot of men in the profession because usually they are supporting the family, and you it's almost impossible to figure out how to.
Especially in the elementary and middle school, you almost hardly ever see a man.
Right, so a few years back I was in elementary school, and there was uh, me, the PE teacher, the janitor, and the principal, in the whole school. um, and that's an age that really could use more males in it.
I'm glad you said that because that's one of my beefs. A lot of these, and I say a fair amount of them are coming from families where they have no male role models
Yeah.
and they don't know how to behave like men. And I'm an old school guy, and I'll say it. You don't need to chime in if you don't want to, but I'll go ahead and say it. I think little boys at some level need to be taught, or they need not taught, but they need to see it how a man is supposed to act. Um, I just that's just fundamentally I believe that, and if they've never seen it, it's like hunting for a bear. You go hunting for a bear. If you ain't never seen a bear, you don't know what it looks like, so you don't know what you're shooting at. You know, and a lot of these kids are raised in families where there is no good male role model, and I think that's important to. So I agree with you. Incorporate maybe try to find a way to encourage more men to get it because we do that in every other industry in every sector. If you think you need a certain gender or a certain type of person, then you recruit that person. And I think that's probably smart. Let me ask you about teachers' unions. So that's a big deal with me. I study unions a lot. So, what do you think about the unions and their impact on education?
To be 100% honest, there's no union in the state I'm in. It's a right to work state, so they don't have it here.
Really? They don't
Uh,
make you, what state is it? Well, I'll ask.
I'll tell you, I'm in Georgia.
Oh, so Georgia doesn't have the Georgia Educational, some kind of state association that you all have to belong to?
No,
I'll be
no.
darned. I did not know that.
Yeah, so if so there's nothing here, and I've been involved in school districts in Utah and Florida and Arizona. Utah had it, but you have to be teaching so many years in order to be part of that. So you had to be there 4 years in order to be even considered to part of that, because before the 4 years, the district could let you go for any reason. It didn't matter what, and they didn't have
No
to give a
kidding.
reason why.
Yeah. Well,
Uh, Arizona didn't have it when I was there, so it was just. Um, so I don't know a lot about the
so you
unions.
don't know anything about that? Okay. All right. Well, good. Because my opinion on unions is like I think they're hamstringing a lot of the. Well, we talked a little bit about the regulations and not allowing teachers to teach. A lot of that comes from these um, educational associations and all of the requirements and from the National Education Association, the Department of Education, all of these dictates come down from the Department of Ed. The teachers unions and stuff are kind of in cahoots, and they'll strangle these teachers is what they're doing already by not allowing them to teach. So to me, I see that's a problem in education. If you've not experienced that, good for you, because it can be rough.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky. Honestly, the district I'm in is one of the best districts in the state. You
Oh,
know,
okay.
our superintendent, absolutely fantastic. We it there's a waiting list to get in our district. You can't like we have no teacher shortage in ours.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah, we have I think 8 open positions right now in our district, and over the summer there was 100 openings, um, and they fill up so fast. The last school I was at in our district, we had a 2 first grade position open, so there was 2 positions, and they had over 350 applicants for that because
Good grief.
people want to get in this district because they do treat their teachers really well. And so I'm very lucky to be in the district I'm in. There are some things I don't love about it, but
Yeah. Well, that's the way it is with any job, right?
right, right.
Yeah. I'll be daggone. So good for you. So you've got the best of both worlds. So you're in a good supportive district, and that's key. And in your homeschooling, you're doing what you want to do with your kids. So I'm gonna ask a question. The reasoning What's the reason why you haven't put your kids back into public school? Is there something there that you think you can do it better, or why not?
So not necessarily, and we always ask every summer. We ask, "Do you want to go to public school?" And my kids say no. Um, they don't like the idea of getting up early and being
Okay,
out being out late. My youngest, she may go. She wants to experience it. She wants to wait till she's in high school instead of middle school. But we always ask him. But being a teacher, my very first, or one of my very first teaching jobs was I was teaching 6th grade middle schoolers, and I taught all subjects, and that was really my first in-depth look. Before that, I was a PE teacher, so this I was in a classroom, a really in-depth look at what goes on, and what 6th graders were talking about was outrageous. I mean, we had kids coming to school drunk in 6th grade,
yeah,
talking about high school boyfriends and what they did
yeah.
over the weekend with them and how their parents weren't home and it was okay, to cutting their own wrist because they couldn't handle different things, and pornography out there, and just so many things that, it was one of those.
You're
I,
trying to protect your kids.
right. It's they're going to be exposed eventually to a lot of that stuff as they get older, but they mature at different rates, and I didn't want to force that into them earlier by putting them into a public school.
And that's the reason why we did our son, is we felt that he wasn't capable, and he didn't have the skills to negotiate and navigate what was being out there. And this was 30 years ago. And I see what's out there now. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and everything is magnified because of phones. Everything is recorded. Everything has a picture of it. I mean, when I was in school, they didn't have that. So you could get away with a little bit more and it wasn't recorded. Well, now it's recorded and it's off to admin. I mean, daily I get screenshots. Do you know who the student is? Please send me their names because of pictures that have been taken on and off campus that has involved students.
Ugh.
And
It scares the hell out of you.
it does, because when the kids are in my classroom, I can control that environment to the best of my ability. But when they leave and go home, I don't know what they're going home to.
No. Well, you can assume that they're going into some bad situations.
Yeah, many of
Yeah,
them
we know
are.
that. We know that from COVID, which is one of the lessons from COVID. As a teacher, my heart broke for a lot of these families because I told my wife one of the first things. I'm an educator and been in the system, and when they started shutting down the schools, I didn't feel bad for the kids that had means. I didn't feel bad for the kids that had educated parents. I felt bad for the kids who were mostly on the lower income side of the scale, who would not get what they needed and who were being abused and who were being neglected. And I just knew, well, what a horrible thing. There's no eyeballs on these kids. Like you picked out this kid. He came to you. He said, hey, you know, help me do this during COVID. Good luck with that. This kid's not finding any relief. And I told my wife, because I've got grandkids. I got 10 grandkids, and 7 of them was in school at the time. And I said, I don't worry about my grandkids. I worry about those kids who don't have anything. The poor kids who have no resources. They can't get on the internet, and the damn school district has said, I'm going to send you a packet of shit home and you're good. I'm like, how did that make sense? And if you look at test scores, we're suffering now from that, right?
Yep. You can see the COVID years, the ones that should have started, but because of COVID didn't, and you can see they're just a little bit lower than where they should be, as if they were in a public school or properly being educated at home.
You did a TikTok sometime back, and you were talking about the subpar education training of teachers. I've noticed that you had some kind of graph or some kind of
Hmm.
a document that you showed. And I think the essence of it was there's not enough certified teachers in the air in teaching.
Yeah, so the average in 1 in 10 teachers um, is teaching a content area they're not certified in. Or they're not certified in all, and different states require different things. Some states you just have to be 18 years old and pass a background check and you're good to go. And
Kentucky has this thing called a Master's of Arts in Teaching. And that is like if you went to school and got a bachelor's degree in art and you didn't want to get a teaching degree, you could take this test and then become a teacher. Well, it isn't that. So they've watered down, at least in Kentucky, and I'm going to piss off a bunch of my friends in Kentucky. They've watered down that certification and requirement to actually be able to teach to a degree that, and now even if you can, like you said, if you're out of high school and you can pass a test or some kind of competency test, you can teach. That's nuts to me.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't get that part of it, but most places there's such a shortage. In fact, on that post, on one of the comments, somebody who follows me commented and said, and there's rural town in Kentucky, I think it was Kentucky again, they have a virtual teacher that zooms in every day to teach the kids, and they have a room monitor because they can't get teachers. And I think again that goes back to pay. If you were to pay a really good wage, more people would be interested in going into it. But also the respect that teachers get in the classroom, it's, I mean, everything is the teacher's fault. No matter what it
We
is,
had
it's the teacher's
so
fault.
there you go. I had a friend, and I employed him in one of the jobs that I had, grant positions that I had, And he said to me, brilliant dude and a great teacher, and kids loved him. And I said, Craig, what was one of the things that you hated most about teaching? He said he couldn't fail a kid. He could not give a kid a bad grade. No, and it wasn't because he didn't. He could do it, but the amount and the avalanche of bullshit that he had to put up with, he just passed them along. He learned that when he gave a kid a D, it was his fault. It wasn't a systemic problem with that family or any of that stuff. It was his fault. That kid was subpar as far as his performance, and he was held account for because of that letter grade. And he just learned after a while, I'm gonna give him a C and pass him along.
Right. Yeah. It's, there's a lot of paperwork that comes with it. Where I'm at, every 3 weeks, we have to send an email. Hey, your student is in danger of failing. This is what they're missing. But people have access to that anytime. It's all online. You can check it
Yes.
every day if you want to. Uh, and, I do everything I can to make sure that the students are getting the information that I'm sharing with them. Um, but you can't always motivate them. You can only do so much. It has to come, they have to want to do it. And, you know, I'm lucky because I teach seniors in high school where if they don't pass my class, they don't get the credit, they don't graduate. So that's a very motivating factor for
Yes.
them. But
Yes.
when you get down to the freshmen,
They don't give two shits
right,
because they
they,
can't look at the long game, right? They can't look at 3 years from now, and their parents aren't motivating them. So there's a real systemic problem. So compulsory education. What's your take on that? What's your take on compulsory education? Do you think it's a good idea or a bad idea?
um, oh, that's tough. I, I think I'm gonna go with it depends on the student, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Because it kind of goes back to everybody learns different.
Yeah. So if you've got a kid that's, I guess what I mean is holding the parents' feet to the fire if Junior doesn't want to go to school. Because we have compulsory education I think for a lot of reasons, but one of them is just because the school gets money every time that kid puts his ass in the seat. And sometimes maybe the kids should be having assessed and evaluated and put on some other kind of track other than the academic track. See, we're kind of going back to what we thought about earlier. We talked about is, of course, again, if we're going to fix the system, get that kid as early as we can. And if they're just not showing it by the sixth grade, get them evaluated and then see about these other alternatives that are out there for that kid.
Right. I know, and a lot of other countries do that,
Yes, they do.
and they're successful with that.
Yes,
Um,
they are.
I was just
We
reading,
we're not wanting to admit that as a country, but that's
right,
absolutely the fact.
right. I was just reading, I think it's, oh man, Sweden maybe? I think that's where it was, where after you finish your eighth grade, you apply to the high schools that you're interested in. So one is medical heavy, one is trades heavy,
Like a
you
magnet
know,
school.
right. But like, but everything is revolves around that more so. Like everything is medical. Your math is medical, everything.
Oh,
And so you apply to the school like almost like a college application. You apply, and if you get in, great. You can go through it, and after your first year, you can opt back in. You don't have to reapply. You can opt back in to continue, or you didn't like it, you can apply to another school and try the trades over there or that different school. And these kids are coming out knowing what they want to do, not wasting time and being productive in going right into it. And I think that's a great option. I would love to see the trades come back into schools.
we could learn a lot from other countries if again, I think and this is my own opinion, if our unions and the Department of Ed would get their head straight and figure out that there's a lot better way to educate a child than to set them in front of a classroom or a computer and have them open up a book and recite a bunch of information. I just think there's a lot different way to teach a child.
Right. And so in my class, I always tell the kids, look, you guys live in an information technology here at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Right. When I was in school, we had to memorize this stuff, right?
Yes.
Because we didn't know about the internet. But now you can look up anything you want. You can learn anything you want. And so not only is my job to give you and teach you about this science, but I also want to teach you about how to properly use those tools so that way you're more prepared. Like a big thing right now is AI. Kids using AI to, you know what? I say use it. It's a great resource, but you still need to know how to write a paper properly, how
Yes.
to cite things properly. But if you get stuck, AI is a great tool. Use it. You can pull up ideas. I'm writing on, I don't know, dinosaurs. I don't know what to write. Can you give me some ideas? And it may get some stuff flowing. It's tools there for us. And I think I'd love to see schools implement that, but teach kids how to use it properly and not
And
shut it down.
they're not doing that, right? They're not showing them that tool. And I'm always amazed when I interview young kids for jobs. And one of the questions I ask them is, tell me about the position you applied for. What do you know about our company? And crickets. And then I'll scold them. I'll say, look at that phone there. Did it ever dawn on you to Google me? Did it ever dawn on you to Google the company? I said, you should have done that. And of course, they automatically know that their interview is not going to be very well.
Right.
And it goes. But I'm amazed because they're not taught that, God Almighty, the information that's right there at the palm of your hand. No one's teaching them how to do that. And that, good for you. Good for you for doing that with these kids. So let me ask, so do you have anything else? So let me throw two things out. Tell the parents out there that might be thinking about homeschooling their kids. Two things they should do. Two things they should do before they even begin to seriously think about it.
First, check your state's regulations. Each state's a little bit different. So check your state's regulations so that way when or if you decide to homeschool, you're doing it in according to the state to make sure you're doing it right.
That sounded like a lawyer answer. That sounded like something I would have said. Check your state law. Go ahead.
Well,
but that's true. Yeah,
you don't want it to come back on you.
No,
and be like,
you don't want to get
where's this?
Because they'll file charges against you if you don't do it right. I mean, if you keep your kid out and it's not done correctly, they'll file criminal charges against you.
Right. So do it correctly. Like where I'm at, we have to homeschool so many days out of the year, and we have to have attendance for that we have to keep. We have to keep 2 years of work at a time. So it just rolls down. So we put the new year in, take the oldest year out. So we always have 2 years worth of work, and that could be just a printed grade sheet and some examples of what they've done, and each subject. So it could be on the computer. It could be, we have tubs in our garage that they throw stuff in when they finish.
So do your homework and figure out what the requirements are from that particular state and get your outline, right? Because you know exactly what the requirement is. You know how you're going to organize that stuff. So in case the government comes knocking on your door, you'll be able to show them what you have.
Yep. And I would also find a support system. I think that's huge for homeschool parents. Finding that support is major because, you're home all day with your kids. It's nice to have another adult to be able to talk to or to run ideas by, or, hey, does this work for you? What are you using? And a support system is, oh man, it's it's huge. And for me, like I said earlier, being a male, it was hard in some of these co-ops because it's usually female. And I wanted to find, I just needed an outlet to be able to talk about homeschool. And so I got on TikTok, and it just started generating interest and people messaging me and talking to me. And for me, that was where I found um, my group. And now when I go to the homeschool co-ops, when I have the opportunity, they see me from my TikToks, not knowing that
Yeah.
I've been there.
Good. I mean, cool for you. Good job. So that's all both of those. I could not agree more. Excellent advice to do that. We didn't really we checked with our state, I think is what we did. We checked with our state, but we didn't really investigate. And I don't think we did our due diligence um, as far as really figuring out what my son, what his skill set was. We just know we didn't want him going to public school just for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned. We just didn't think he was mature enough, and we were going to give him some time to grow and adapt and learn some skills. So great advice. I said I would do this at the end. I want to talk a little bit about your side gig, the preparedness. So give me about a minute and a half of that. How did you start that thing?
Oh man. When I got married and had kids, I realized, little emergencies happen, right? And so I wanted to be able to be prepared. My father-in-law was into emergency preparedness a bit, and so I was able to talk to him about, different things of concerns I had. As simple as, if I'm going to college, I lose my job, how am I going to be able to feed my family? Or, I'm a teacher now, I've got 4 kids. If something were to happen and I can't feed them, how do I do this? And so he taught me, different types of food storage are really good. Stuff like that. Communication is huge. We just had those hurricanes up in the Carolinas, just wipe things out. Be able to communicate is key.
So you're not. So your preparedness isn't the zombie apocalypse tinfoil hat guy. Is it that kind of preparedness, or maybe it is? But what is it that extreme? What you're into, or is it softer than that?
It's not that extreme for me. My preparedness is I want to be able to take care of my family if I lose a job or my wife's business doesn't do as well, or a natural disaster comes through. But who knows what could be happening in 3 or 4 years um, with where we live?
Exactly.
You don't know, right? Nobody really knows, and so being prepared for that is.
Yes. So let me ask, what's your if you had to now, could you shelter in place or go to a place and feed your kids? And if you could, how long would that be? What would be like if you had to bug out now? What would your situation be like?
So if we had a bug out now, we're prepared. We've got uh, bug out backpacks for each one of my kids that has 2 pairs of clothes, uh, up to a week's worth of food, flashlights, stuff like that. We have enough gas stored to be able to fill up one vehicle to be able to um, get away. So if we can't get gas, we can, we drive a minivan. So it would drain the tank, and we've got enough gas to pour back in there to fill it up completely,
Huh.
to be able to evacuate or wherever we're going, because we've learned that gas isn't going to be available if something comes through. Um, and so we've got those, and we rotate those monthly as, our cars need gas. We just put the gas in there and then refill up the gas cans. Um, and so we're prepared to do that, but that's a last resort, in my opinion, to go somewhere where I'm not comfortable. I don't know the area. I don't know the people around me.
Yeah. So staying in. Let's just talk about staying in your place. If you felt you had to close ranks and be at the homestead, how long could you make it without going to the store, without getting fresh water, without getting have you have you developed that much to be able to handle a 3-week period or a 4-week period?
Oh yeah, we could probably do probably close to 3 or 4 months.
No
Um,
kidding.
yeah, we've got, with our
Holy
food
cow. So
storage.
you're the real deal. Good job on that.
Oh, thanks.
Shit, me and my wife would be on the street like a 3 days, man. We we wouldn't know shit from apple butter. Much respect for that. 3 months? Holy
Yeah, we
cow.
we would be okay. You know, we've got our food storage. A lot of it is um, dehydrated,
You do
but
the
you know,
MREs and all of that? The
yeah, but
MREs?
they come in big coffee cans, and we have the different, shelves in our garage full of these. Um, we've got, we have a pool in our backyard and a water filtration system. We can filter some of that water. We can use it to flush toilets.
No
We have a,
kidding.
so, uh,
I'll
oh
be
yeah,
so I'll be damned. So you figured out a way to hook your pool through a filtration where it's potable, right?
so we would do buckets, and then we have a tabletop that holds 5 gallons at a time that filters it through different types of filters to pull out all the chlorine, to pull out all the stuff you don't want to drink.
I'll be darned. 3 or 4. I was looking for 3 weeks. You're like pulling out to 3 months, man. Holy
Right, that's why
shit.
it's ideal to stay where we're at because we
Yes.
could we could do okay. I've got emergency communication systems. I'm ham radio certified to be able to communicate with
Well, I
people.
notice on your TikTok you sell little communicator walkie talkies, which look like a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, yeah, I've actually got one right here.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess everybody's just looking or listening. They can get that through your link, right?
Yeah, they can go right there through the link, and uh, and there's different radio waves you can talk on, and different licensors you can get. So,
But so let me look another question. Katie's probably going to shoot me here, but um, what's your Second Amendment capabilities? Do you think about that too? Because if you're ready to hunker down for 3 months and there's some bad characters maybe hanging around, so what is that? Your defense mechanisms like?
so we do have personal protection for that. Um, and we're stocked up with
Okay.
what we need to be.
Gotcha.
We've done
You're
we've
cool, man.
done
I knew. I like. Okay, this dude he knows what the hell he's doing. Okay, cool.
uh, we do practice sweeps of the house. Like if the front door is open and I came home, it would be you don't know where somebody's at, like sweeping the house. And I've taught my two older girls um, how and just from watching YouTube videos, and I've got family that was in the military, and just different things I picked up here and there how to properly sweep. Ideally, don't go in. But if I'm out there and one of my kids is in here, you better believe I'm going in. Um, so
You ain't
um,
what? You ain't waiting for the police.
no, no, not at
No,
all. So
I don't blame you, man. If I had skills, well, my dumb ass going in anyway. I ain't got no skills, but
yeah, so we practice those things. I mean, we have in the past. Every once in a while, we do. We have we talked about having code words where nobody knows what we're talking about, but we do. My kids are older. If they're out, if they're having a good time, they're with their friends, but they're in situations they don't really want to be in. We have code words that they use when they call us or text us. Say, hey, it's time to go get them, and we always tell them blame us. You don't want to be there anymore, blame us.
you're like the Taken, right? What's that? What's his name? Liam Neeson. I mean, you got shit ready in case it goes down.
I think you never know the way things are going to be. And so I think it's one of those things that I would rather have it and not need it,
It's
and
an
then
insurance policy.
right, and then need it and not have it. So
I'll be damned. Do they think you're nutty sometimes, your kids? Like, shit, Dad, you're like going over the top of this.
they get tired of me talking about it. When I get around some family members who are also into it, we talk a lot about it, but they just leave the room. They
Yeah,
just are.
yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
when I tell them,
But if they need it, they're like, "My dad has got it now. We know what we're doing."
right, they're going to go off to college one day, and so I want them to be prepared, at least to be able to communicate, or at least be able to get home, depending where they go, um, or be able to take care of themselves in situations. Um, they've all trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They do boxing. They can take care. I'm confident enough that they can take care of themselves.
Oh, so you got them in combat sports and
Right.
stuff.
Yep.
Good for damn. You got it, buddy. You are. I don't. Yeah, dude. And when they bring a boy home, you can give him the riot act, right? You know
Yeah.
exactly what's going to happen.
Just try and do the best I can.
Yeah,
So,
show him what's going on. Oh man, cool for you. I wanted to get into that subject. Hell, we could probably spend a whole nother hour on that, but
we could.
sadly, I'm gonna have to go. Um, Katie is giving me. Well, she hasn't given me the high sign yet, but anyway, the lovely and talented Katie. She's the producer here, guys. Joe, this was wonderful. I hope our listening audience and they can see us on YouTube, Spotify. I hope they enjoy it. Give us once again how people can reach out to you, get some of your stuff, get some of your merchandise. Tell us how we can do that.
Yeah. So, most active on TikTok at Home Dad, also on Instagram at Home Dad.
When you say at home, is that the at sign or the
Uh,
AT home
a
dad?
a a a t at,
At
and
home
then
dad.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
Oh, cool. Listen, man, you're unbelievable. You are one of these left brain, right brain people. They're unusual people.
Well, thank you so much.
One of my best friends is a left brain, right brain guy, and he can use equally both sides of his brain. Most people can't do that. So you're a rare cat. And I appreciate you coming on and having confidence that I wasn't going to come up here and uh, be a total idiot anyway.
No,
Um,
I appreciate you inviting me and asking me to be on. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. And
and I may holler at you a little bit later on. We'll come and focus on the home preparedness thing because I'm really intrigued by that. I watch all these videos, different people. I don't know if you watch Nate from West Virginia.
I sure do. Yeah, he's great.
He's crazy. I love his stuff. Kind of a former Amish dude. He's from the Amish, I guess.
Yeah, he's great. I watch his stuff.
Yeah. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to close exactly the way I always do. Listen, guys, whenever life and law collide in your world, and I'm going to tell you, if you live long enough, it's going to happen. You be like Joe here. If life and law collides in his world, that some gun gonna know exactly what to do, and he ain't calling no damn lawyer. I tell people, if you don't know what to do, call me. We're gonna call Joe. If shit goes down, we don't know what to do. We're gonna call Joe. And I love it, man. Thank you very much. And so, Katie, bring on my father, and let's run us out of here, okay?
Turn me around, help me to the door. I'll never make it on my own. Turn me around, help me.